Yeah, thanks for coming to Bilingual Boogie. Michael, you're new. So basically what this is we're just hosting um, a chat, a discussion on
Which one?
specific texts in English or different stories, different articles, and then some scripture. And we just talk about it, try to answer some questions, and just speak in English and learn English. What I like about this is I've learned a lot about Taiwanese culture just from doing it because I just get to ask you guys all these questions that I never usually would be able to ask. So I love it. So today we're talking about dreams. And I've had some pretty weird dreams in my life, like pretty strange ones. And so for the intro, I just want to ask everyone, what's a crazy dream that you've had recently, or just a crazy dream that you've had in your life? I can start. About a week ago, I had a dream that I was carrying around a baby. And it was so weird. It was in a box. The baby was in a box. And I was looking through like this little window, and the baby was like happy and like alive. And then like at the end of the dream, I realized that the baby was a hologram and it wasn't real. And then like there was something came up. It was like, oh, you just got pranked. And I woke up. I was like, what's going on? So I don't know what that dream means. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to analyze it. But that was very strange. So I don't know. Do you guys have any dreams that you've had that are just weird?
That sounds like a dream. That sounds like something from a Dave Chappelle sketch.
Yeah, for sure.
When I was a kid, I had this dream where my friend and I were riding our bikes, and then a bus comes along and she gets hit by the bus, and I just see her body going around the tire. I know it's very like dark, but that's like one dream that I always remember as being really strange. I think she's okay. We don't talk anymore. It's been a long time. I think she's okay. Hopefully I didn't like anticipate her death.
Wow, that's crazy. Dreams really are like that, though. Did you guys get into an argument before the dream?
I don't think so. I think this is around the time that, if this is the same friend, I think this is around the time that I would go to her house, and then I think one time I dropped a glass Snapple bottle. Maybe she held some resentment. I don't know.
I have a lot of weird dreams, like all the time. Like all the time. I can have like 8 dreams that like I remember when I wake up, and they're just like all everywhere. But I can think of a dream that I had once where I was like walking into my garage to leave, and there were like bodies of water, which I love the ocean, but I think it was just like there's obviously not an ocean outside my garage, and there was like sharks, and then so yeah, I go outside and there's like sharks, and they're just like swimming outside my garage, so obviously I can't go outside my garage. And then these like men popped up, and it was really weird because they were like, hey, do you have a map? I was like, no, I don't have a map. I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask you to leave. And all of a sudden they pull out, this sounds really weird or crazy, but they pull out guns, but it's to the theme song of the song that goes like dun 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 dun.
Eye of Tiger.
And
That's
I don't know,
hilarious.
it was just the weirdest thing. It was like from the sharks to the really weird men pulling out guns to the, what is it, Eye of the Tiger song. Like, I don't know. I just have dreams like that sometimes anyway.
You can make a movie out of that. It could be a movie.
I really could. I could be
called Shark Maps.
We'll think about that. But yeah. So I have weird dreams like that all the time. And
there were times when I dreamt that I was late for school, and then I got to school and I realized I was in my pajamas. Have you guys had dreams like that? Right?
Yeah. It's so scary.
I
Because
know,
everyone's
totally.
like, look at you. Yeah, I've had dreams like that actually a lot. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, thank God. It's weird how your dreams like put you in such an emotional state where you're like, oh, this is real, you know.
Or even
All right,
like
one more.
or even like, falling into a pit or something. Have you guys ever had those kind of dreams? And then I wake up, I'm like shaken and everything.
And with one like that, Shirley, I had a dream once where I was in like this city, and just a bunch of, almost like a SWAT team was trying to capture me. And so I was running around the city, like looking over my shoulder everywhere I went. And I woke up like feeling like I had to hide. And it's just strange that dreams can pull you in such a reality that just isn't reality. And it's cool that we don't know that much about dreams. So I have this article, and it's a history of dream research. And the link, actually, if you guys want to read it later, it's really interesting to see what people have thought about dreams and the research that's been done. So this article is really interesting because, I like how it mentions that the only way to study dreams is to ask the dreamer, because you can't really be inside someone's head yet. I don't know if Elon Musk is working on that, I think, but you can't really know what people are experiencing. And so it's interesting because, before they knew about rapid eye movement, they didn't know that they thought all sleep was the same. And so it's cool to figure out what they're actually researching. And so I have one question that I was really curious about. What does your culture believe about dreams? And I know it might not be different, but I was curious to see if it was different. What does your culture believe about dreams? Like, what do people say about dreams in your culture?
Definitely, every time I tell any of my friends a dream, they're like, "You're gonna predict something. You're a prophet. Like, what's gonna happen." And like, I don't know. I have so many dreams that like they often relate to like my life or what I'm thinking about. Like the shark one was just like a random one, but even like this past week, my friend who's getting married in the fall, I had a dream that she was like, "You're not invited to the wedding," and was just like super cold about it. Was just like, "You're not invited. I don't know why you would think you're invited." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, totally. I'm gonna go. It's fine." And so I think because I've been thinking about it a lot, but like that was why I dreamt that. But I would say in at least my like friend group, a lot of my friends think that, or at least the culture. And I study this in psychology a lot, so I love learning about this or talking about it. But yeah, I think it can be something unconscious that you're thinking about, that your like dreams are expanding on. And I'd say that like my culture believes that as well. So that's
like almost like an omen, or not, maybe not so negative, but like something that can tell you something useful for your future. Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think perhaps in the culture here, it's just it just tells you what's on your mind to a certain extent. Or people think that way. I'm actually, it's weird. I'm reading a book called Dream Psychology by Sigmund Freud, and so it kind of theorizes slightly before 1953, but it theorizes about dreams and kind of explores it. And I think people think different things. So I was talking about this with my parents, and my dad loves dreaming, and my dad has lots of dreams. And, I feel I'm kind of similar to my dad, whereas my stepmom, normally she'll have recurring dreams. She'll have recurring dreams every year, maybe 3 times a year, and they're dreams of anxiety. They're kind of problems. And whereas when I talked about this, I don't know if this is a widespread thing, but people in China, like a friend in China, he would share that, he thinks, you dream because, something is wrong. Like when you dream, that means like, you're, something's wrong, and you're really bothered. But when you don't dream, kind of like everything's okay. Now, I don't know if that's a widespread view, and I don't personally agree with that. But I would say I would feel like that would be a difference.
I don't believe in it, but my dad actually had a really weird dream that he claims came true in his life. And when he tells you the story, you kind of get chills because it was around his friend who died and he had a dream 2 years earlier that he went to his funeral, and the dream was exactly the same as when he actually went to his funeral. So there's like you'll find in like even in some cultures, or I don't know if it's just my family, like some people, it's not like a superstition, but there's this, you believe that something unusual can happen because dreams are so unusual, you know?
You guys know what I'm talking about? 托梦,
Deadly,
right?
deadly
Okay.
people.
So what happens is that someone in the family died. Okay, maybe it died in an accident. And then somehow their relative or their family member would have a dream, and the dead person would tell him, the person who dreamed, that you can find my body in such and such place. And then when they really go there, that's how they found the body. So it's 托梦, right? Am I saying it right? Simon, Jean, Anne, help me out. 你知道我们在说什么？
Yeah, deadly
Yeah.
person
托梦,
will
you know?
send a message to
Yeah.
the close relative, you know, and help the police investigate
Yeah.
easily, you know.
I was just going to say, in relation to people, if people are described as phenomenons, then it's hyperbolic. So what
Yeah.
you described, Stephen, yes, it's maybe literally out of world type event, but people can be described as phenomenon, but it's hyperbolic. So a synonym in that regard, which is maybe a bit confusing, could be unicorn. But
Yeah.
in terms of a general synonym, maybe unique.
Yeah. So like, let's go back to this sentence. It says, they discovered the phenomenon of rapid eye movement. So rapid eye movement was never seen before. And it's something that happens that we don't know why it happens. Or at first we didn't know why it happens. So they're saying, oh, this is a phenomenon. That David, Solomon is his son. So Solomon is a king after David. And so it says, at Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon during the night in a dream. And God said, ask for whatever you want me to give you. So God's like, I'll give you anything. Just ask for it. Solomon answered, you have shown great kindness to your servant, my father David, because he was faithful to you and righteous and upright in heart. You have continued this great kindness to him and have given him a son to sit on his throne this very day. So he's thanking God for making him king. Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. But I am only a little child, and I do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? This is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. It's so cool because, you know, if I had a dream that God was like, I'll give you anything, I would just wake up like, oh man, I wish that was true. but like, he actually has a dream here and asks for something. And if, you know, in the rest of the Bible, there's Solomon became so wise that people would come and just see if it was true, see if he was really wise. The Bible even says he was the wisest person ever to live. And so it's just very interesting how this dream connects with other stories from Scripture. Cool. Yeah, so he was discerning. God gave him discernment, wisdom, and being able to choose. When given many options, he's able to choose well. So some questions. In this dream, Solomon asks God for wisdom. Why do you guys think wisdom is important? Why is it important for Solomon to have wisdom? Or why is wisdom important in general?
In general, wisdom is important to not do something harmful to yourself or to other people. I think in Solomon's case, it was super important because he was king and he had to make decisions on behalf of many people. But in general, even just for yourself and for the people, immediately around you and in your life, it's also important so that you don't hurt them.
Yeah, so that you can prevent bad things from happening to you and others. In Solomon's case, he was leading a kingdom, so it's important for him to know how to do it well. Any other responses? Why is wisdom important? Or how have you seen wisdom to be important in your life?
I think just like in life in general, we always have just so many options and choices that we get to make, whether it's as simple as the breakfast we eat in the morning or the job we choose or the country we move to. There's just so many decisions that we could make in a day. I actually had a dream about that once where the decision that I didn't make, I dreamt about what that would have meant for me if I had just made the different decision of as simple as waking up 30 minutes earlier or whatnot, or choosing to go to call in sick or not go to work or go to work. I mean, but I just think it's really easy to make the wrong choice, but it's also not easy, but it can be hard to make the right choice. But anyway, I think just seeing that what wisdom is necessary to make the choices that will, and I like what Uju said, because I think it's simple. It's easy to see people make choices for themselves that might not be the wisest for others, or you see people making choices that are better for others more than themselves. And I think there just needs to be a lot of knowledge and wisdom when we make these decisions, because they do have an impact and an effect. There's always something that comes after the choice or after the decision. So I think I just see the importance of having wisdom in every situation. So
right, yeah, cool. Yeah, wisdom is something that going forward, I like what you said about even eating breakfast. You can eat 5,000 donuts for breakfast. You can eat really bad food for breakfast and it won't help you for the rest of the day. Or you can eat something that's very healthy, and that's wisdom. Why do you think God was pleased with Solomon's answer? It says in verse 10, the Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for this. Why do you think that's true?
Yeah, I feel you can't just read this and not see how humble Solomon is in this passage. I feel just the fact that he recognizes how God, who God made him and the role that God has given him, and just that he has a responsibility to uphold. And I think he really recognizes that, and that's why he's turning to God, asking God to help him. And he recognizes even the people that he's I love the last part in verse 9 about for who is able to govern this great people of yours. And just think that Solomon has a really great grasp on just the power that God has given him, and wanting to use that power for good, which is the case in any superhero movie or whatever. It's you have this power, are you going to use it for good or evil? And I think in this, you really see Solomon's heart to do what's right and what God wants, not necessarily what he could, because he could be just a king and have wealth and have everything he wants, but he really sees that he has a choice to make, that he's turning to God to decide, and God's really pleased with that.
Yeah, it's cool, because if you imagine your position leading a lot of people, you'd probably be very uncomfortable if you don't know what you're doing. And so he asks God to help so that he can actually do well. Yeah. So what would you, okay, so the last question, I didn't really mean this as what would you do if you could wish for anything? I think more, if you asked God for anything, what should you ask for? Or what would you ask for? What would be helpful in your life? The same spirit as Solomon. What would you ask for if God said, I'll give you anything? I think I can answer first. For me, the one thing that I think would help me a lot right now is understanding what it means to be with people in the moment and not think too much about the future or the past. Because my situation is I don't know when I'm coming out to Taiwan. So I don't want to be thinking too much in the future. And then when I go eventually, God willing, I'm like, oh, I missed so many things I could have done in the US because I don't know when the day is, you know? So I think that would be something I would ask for, to be content in the moment.
In relation to basically what I've been learning in school, it would kind of be how to save the world. Not like literally salvation for everyone, but how to literally save our earth, and the ability to do so. So there's like the question of what do we do to save nature and everything that like allows us to live, and then how do we implement that for the entire world? So that's what I would.
Nice. You need to be like Superman or something. Have the cape.
Need a lot more than that, honestly.
Super guard. I don't even know.
I think for me, I would need patience. Yeah, because I think it's really eager. It's really easy to be eager or overexcited about things coming up, and I think when you have a level of patience, you can think more clearly, and in those difficult moments, because I think a lot of leader type of decisions are made in the moment. There are times where you have to plan ahead, but most of the time you will have to do things at the last second, and be able to lead with gently, and think of others, and I think patience really helps with that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I like that you said you think more clearly, because it's almost as if your mind is less polluted when you're patient.
I would say, like you, Stephen, contentment. I've probably noticed I can be easy to think about a negative or criticize, or just whatever situation, not feel content, as opposed to being content. And so probably being content.
Yeah. And it's cool with all of these responses, because if we are content and if we are patient, and if we're able to actually save the world, if we're able to actually build a better place for everyone, these are things that they not only benefit ourselves, but they benefit others. I know when I'm patient, I don't yell at people. When I'm patient, I don't argue with people. And it's cool if in this story, God says, since you have asked for this and not for long life or wealth for yourself, and you didn't ask for the death of your enemies, I will do what you have asked, but I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor. So it's almost like, God, if you ask for things that will help others, he'll take care of you anyway. He'll make sure that you have what you need, or even more than you need, because you have a heart to do good. So yeah, this one's, I don't have any more questions, but if you guys just want to discuss still, we have a lot of time, about 10 minutes left until the discussion is formally over. So
it's crazy how Solomon. So I'm reading 1st and 2nd Samuel right now, and David is honestly the worst person to me. So it's amazing that Solomon turned out so much better.
Wait, why was David so bad?
Every single chapter, he's killing people for no reason, literally no reason. I will look for the reason, and there is none. So it's really wild to me that he's praised so much. I'm I don't understand. I think when people read it along with Psalm, you're oh, he's so sensitive, and and so now, he's so in tune with God. And then you read just what it is that he did, and I'm like, okay, no. So it's amazing to me that Solomon turned out so much better, and that he really was thinking for his people and not his own selfish gain.
Yeah, with David, you recognize like he's deeply flawed, and I think to be honest, I think I relate more with David than I do with Solomon. My heart isn't natural to ask God for how to better, not naturally, before maybe my beginning my relationship with God and really going after my relationship with God, I would ask for what I wanted and what was good for me. And now that I love God and I know God loves me, I am able to make better decisions for others and decisions that will better impact others. But I think with David, we can relate more in his way of, he makes mistakes, but he turns to God anyway. But yeah, I think it is cool to read more about Solomon, because I haven't really read about him in a long time. But I think it's interesting that he dreamt this instead of it happening, just actually happening. I don't know. It's interesting. It's cool when we get to see, even though it's considered a dream, that it's cool to see God respond to someone and seeing what God thinks about. Even that he could, it says that the Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for this. I think it's always, I really try to hold on to those things, when I can see how God responds or says to people, because we don't often know what God is trying to say or do, unless we seek it in the Bible and read about it. But even in our own lives, I think it's cool to see an example of, in the form of a dream of all things, that can bear a lot of weight in our lives if we let it. And this is something that I think if I were to have a dream like this, I probably would really hold on to it. And it's not a bad dream. It's a really good thing to have a dream about this. And so I think I can see the positive effects of this dream being something that can really be impactful, obviously in Solomon's life. But if we were to have more dreams like this, how much more I probably would trust God and pray to God. And I don't know, so it's something I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I think it's a good example of how to pray to God, of asking for discernment and wisdom before you go to Him with what's on your heart of I'm worried about this, or I need help in this area, because it shows afterwards that God did help him in those other ways that he was still lacking in as well, even though he didn't ask directly for wealth or honor. And just really need to keep that more in mind of when God is speaking to me, to really make sure that I'm listening before I speak, instead of just saying everything first. I need to listen first.
Anyone who asks for wisdom will receive it. And I think it's cool because it's one of those things where, if you ask for wisdom from God, He will give it to you without strings attached. He wants people to be more wise, because people who are more wise just make the earth a better place, and His kingdom, goodness just comes in just more quantities on earth. So it's really cool. I think it's something we can all learn from, asking for wisdom. What you said reminds me of the scripture in James 4. It says, he basically says, I'll give you anything you ask for, but when you ask, you do not receive, because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how this is the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. He gives him everything because he doesn't ask for his own motives, wrong motives. Mm-hmm. So true. Yeah, well, thank you guys for coming. That's all I have for you guys today. But I think this is a good thing to think about as we go forward with our lives, wisdom and getting it. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Fantastic, Stephen. Thank you.
Yeah.